The Weeknd lost $3 million on his Beverly Hills penthouse. Aaron Rodgers owns a house that's more expensive than any other player in the NFL. And Zillow now offers a loan program that allows home buyers to purchase a house with just 1% down. We've got all of that and then some to talk about in today's episode. Let's dive into it. A home in the Bay Area is for sale for $25 million, which, let's be real, that by itself is not much of a headline. Here's the catch. The entire place was modeled off of Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water. This home is located in Danville, California within the Black Hawk Country Club and is definitely the biggest compound in the area by far. I know a lot of you guys are architecture nuts like me, but in case you haven't heard of Falling Water, this is a house that was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright back in the 1930s in Southwest Pennsylvania. It's probably one of the most famous houses of all time. I visited Falling Water like 10 years ago with my mom, and looking back, it was seriously one of the coolest experiences of my life, so naturally when I saw this story, I had to put it into today's video. This custom home is called the Baring Estate, and it of course has its own website. On the homepage, they tell us it has 7 bedrooms, 11 bathrooms, over 26,000 square feet of space, and it's sitting on 4.5 acres, which by the way, the size of this house is nowhere near the same as the original Falling Water. That place was only like 5,000 square feet. There's a marketing video here that showcases the property both inside and out. You guys should check this thing out if you're interested. It actually gets into a ton of detail about how this estate came to be. Then they have a bunch of photos of the house, starting with the outside that showcases all of the lush landscaping, the water features and waterfalls, the amazing architecture, and the views. The living room is next, which is a massive space that brings the outside in with both the views and all of the materials that they used throughout this area of the house. In the kitchen and the dining room, those warm tones continue. Lots of wood and stonework used here, which definitely reminds me of that Falling Water style. And the master suite is out of this world, you guys. The bedroom itself is big. The furniture is just so cool. The views are amazing. And then when you step into the master bathroom, it straight up feels like you're walking into a resort in Tulum or something. I was skeptical when I first saw this headline, but I've got to admit, they did a really great job with this property. Best of luck to the seller. We've seen this $100 million price point in real estate in places like California, New York, and even in Florida. But now we have a home that's trying to pass that $100 million mark in Aspen, Colorado. This one is a massive estate located at 41 Popcorn Lane with 8 bedrooms, 13 bathrooms, and almost 17,000 square feet of space. But the best part is the acreage here. The place is sitting on 8.4 acres, and even better, it's almost on top of the Roaring Fork River. Outside, the driveway, the motor court, and the exterior walls are all made out of brick. Here's a shot from across the river. The editing is pretty bad. It makes the water look almost fake, but check out how close the house is to this water. The place was already nice and pretty new. It was built back in 2013, but it was already renovated with a more light and modern look. You can tell it definitely has that ski town vibe with a bunch of woodwork inside and fireplaces in what seems like every room. There's a wet bar with amazing views, another huge fireplace. The kitchen is kind of tucked away, but really nice finishes in here too. And again, the outdoors, this is what this property is all about. They'll set a record if it gets anywhere close to this asking price, but Aspen is a very desirable place for these ultra luxury homes, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, amongst all NFL players that exist out there in the world, Aaron Rodgers owns the most expensive house. I guess for a guy who's worth $200 million plus who's in the middle of a 3-year, $112 million contract with the New York Jets, this isn't a huge surprise. The property that gets him to the top of the list of NFL players' most expensive home is this $28 million beachfront house in Malibu that he bought with his ex. The home, of course, has those water views from basically every room in the house. There's a nice sized backyard area that naturally has a swimming pool. Here's the great room, which combines the kitchen, dining room, and living room. And this place even comes with its own separate guest house as well. With a house like this, I'm sure it's a little bit tough for Aaron to leave Malibu and get back into the football season, but he's definitely not the only athlete who's spending big money in real estate. Russell Wilson owns a $25 million home in Denver. Tom Brady has a $25 million property in Miami. LeBron James, which this one's basketball, but he owns a $37 million house in LA. And Russell Westbrook has a $33 million million house, also in LA. I've never really been too much of a sports guy myself, so I don't know all that much detail about all of these guys' contracts and whatnot, but I think it's safe to say that there is big money to be made as a professional athlete in America. Zillow has just rolled out a program that allows you to buy a house with just 1% down. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is a good thing or not. Let's talk about it. Now, a lot of you guys probably know a conventional mortgage is going to require you to put 3% down, and then there's an FHA loan which requires you to put just 3.5% down when you're buying a house. Also a pretty low down payment option, but Zillow has got both of these traditional financing options beat, and by a long shot. It might not seem like much of a difference, but with a median home price in the United States being $410,000, we're talking about being able to buy a house with just a $4,100 down payment. Compare that to buying a $410,000 house with an FHA loan. Here, you need to put down over $14,000. The way that this will work is you're still actually going to get a conventional loan when you utilize this program, but the Zillow Home Loans department is going to contribute 2% of the down payment when the transaction closes. My biggest concern when I read this is that a lot of times when you hear about down payment assistance programs like this, the money actually eventually needs to be repaid at some point in the future. Zillow didn't make it clear in their press release about whether or not the money on this one would ever need to be paid back, but the fine print did reveal that the program is only being offered to buyers in Arizona at this time, although they do plan to expand to other markets soon. I feel like this is a good time to do a quick reminder for any of you guys who are thinking about using this Zillow program, or you're thinking about buying your first house. I have a couple of links for you down in the description. The first one is a free downloadable calculator that I put together. This calculator is meant to help you calculate whether or not you're ready to buy a house based on your income and your expenses. And then the other link down here is to a mortgage document requirements checklist. This one gives you a list of everything that your loan officer is going to need from you when you apply for a mortgage. Weeknd has finally sold his Los Angeles penthouse after it sat on the market for 2 years, and he lost a lot of money on this deal. The unit was located in a building called Beverly West. It's a super exclusive 22-story high-rise condo building in LA with just 35 residences sitting next to the Los Angeles Country Club. The Weeknd's unit, though, of course, was located at the top of the building in the penthouse with 4 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, and almost 8,000 square feet of living space. Right out of the elevator, you step into the foyer of the unit. Past the foyer, you find yourself in the great room with views in literally every direction. The kitchen has these sleek black finishes and a bunch of open shelving. In the master bedroom, the walls are wrapped in this wood, which really warms up the space, but the master bath is back to the dark bachelor pad vibes. Then we've got this private balcony as well off the master bedroom with views that go on pretty much forever. He was originally asking $21 million for the place, but after a bunch of price cuts, it finally just sold for $18 million. Condos in LA are kind of a tough sell in general, but I think the $8,500 monthly HOA dues were possibly deterring buyers as well. Speaking of buyers, the buyer on this one ended up being a pair of doctors named David and Andrea Feinberg. That's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.